Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Are you listening?
Ricky J. Sports.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Ricky J from Ricky J Sports. Now, I've been getting a lot of emails from people asking me, Ricky, what is the best type of fighter that I should pick for my Ultimate Team fighter? And this is a very tough question because everybody kind of has their own point of view when it comes to that, their own opinion. But in my opinion, at first I thought for sure if anybody would ask me, the best type of fighter that you should pick is a grappler. Because, you know, usually guys online are headhunters or body kickers. So I felt like, you know what, if you can get that fight to the ground, it is game over. But let's put the handbrake on that analogy because I found that when I put my freestyle wrestler or jiu-jitsu guy in an online match, I felt like at times it was really hard for me to get that fight to the ground. And when I did have that trouble, I was getting lit up. And sometimes the fights would only last like a minute. Yeah, I'm not bad at the game, as you know. But if I'm facing someone who's really good on their feet and I can't get that fight to the ground. So, for example, you know how I'm using Ferrari? She's a jiu-jitsu girl. Her stand-up is terrible, and her health is just so bad. As you see here, athleticism, 37. And remember, these are the bare bones attributes for your fighter when you're creating them. So when I would get hit, she would take it tough. And even though her ground is really good, her stand-up is what would really kill her. What would really kill her was her stand-up, and that was really terrible when I would try to take a really good stand-up fighter down. So I said, you know what? I'm no longer going to pick a Greco-Roman, a freestyle wrestler, jiu-jitsu, or judo because sometimes if I'm having trouble on the feet, the fight ends before I can get that fight to the ground. Before I get into the stand-up and who I think you should pick, I think this is an error in the game. Judo, for all you guys that are into mixed martial arts and know about fighting, judo, they are all about clinch throws, and I don't understand how a judo player is only a 50 at clinch throws. That should be at least a 72, 73. But anyhow, what I think you guys should do when you're starting out is, number one, be good on the ground. Practice your ground game, because a lot of these stand-up guys online don't know what is going on, especially in the early part of the game when you're in the lower divisions. They don't know what's going on, and you could submit guys even though you're not a ground specialist. So you always know in the back of your head, if the fight isn't going your way on the feet, you know you could take the fight to the ground and submit your opponent. So right now, what I believe is it's kind of tough because a lot of people would say go with a mixed martial artist, because let's look at the mixed martial arts stats right now. The stand-up is not great. Movement 59, and then everything is in the 60s here, but then the power is in the 46. So you know you're not going to really get those flash knockouts. But, sorry, let me go back here real quick. Clinch is pretty good. You don't have to worry too much about the clinch because you could always break away and block knee strikes and elbow strikes. But the ground game is what you need to look at. The ground game is respectable in the 60s, high 60s, and don't worry about the ground and pound. You can't really get off a lot of ground and pound in this game because everybody's transitioning all over the place. If you look at athleticism, it's in the 40s, so it's not that great. The one thing I was looking at is the karate guy. He is a little bit kind of like the same thing, but if you look at the karate guy's ground game, it's in the 60s, high 60s and low 60s, and that's pretty good because you're able to submit somebody if you're a karate guy and you get that fight to the ground. If you look at the karate guy's stand-up, the stand-up is pretty good. The kick speed's at 68, and you could do some damage as a karate guy. Now, if I had to say I like the karate guy, let's look at the Taekwondo guy real quick. The Taekwondo guy has 70 kicking speed, and the ground game for the Taekwondo guy, as far as choke defense, and that's what you want, man. You don't want to get choked out on the ground. His choke defense is good, and his submission game is really good. And the Taekwondo guy's athleticism is a lot better than the karate guys. He could take more damage. And I would rather pick the Taekwondo guy, because if you look at everything that you need in this online game, you know you need stand-up, which the Taekwondo guy has, but the movement's pretty good, and you could add to that, eh? Like, even here, the power is not all there, but the ground game is great with respect to choke defense and choke submissions, and joint submissions are good. So I would pick a Taekwondo guy, because based on the bare bones stats right here, he has a pretty all-around game. In my opinion, maybe the Taekwondo guy's stats should have been the mixed martial arts stats, but all in all, the Taekwondo guy is good too. Another thing to look at is the boxer. Now, in my opinion, the boxer is overall the best stand-up fighter. The movement is at 73. The blocking is really good. Let's compare the boxer with the Taekwondo guy, and that's easy to do here. Movement Taekwondo guy 66, 62 blocking, kick speed 74, and then he's in the 40s here and 50s. The boxer can't kick. So if you have a guy that's doing the whole kicking range thing, you're not really going to be able to get inside. That's the one problem with the boxer. I like the boxer as a whole, but the one thing is, if a guy's doing, those distance kicking, it's kind of cheesy that you see sometimes. You won't be able to get inside, and you'll get lit up, especially your legs most likely. And if you look here, as far as leg stamina, boxers don't have good leg stamina. But as far as a whole, if you can get in as a boxer, you're able to do your damage, because their body and chin health is good compared to everybody else. Their stamina is really good. They're tough, so they'll be able to take a beating, but you got to watch out for those legs, because they'll be chopping away at you. Now, if you look at the clinch is pretty good at 67 clinch grappling. If you look at the Taekwondo guy, his clinch isn't good. And the boxer's doing a little bit better in the clinch, but you know that, eh? You know that's going to happen. And the Taekwondo guy, even though his takedown defense isn't great, if it gets to the ground, you could submit him. And that's what I always do. If I get taken down, I go into full guard, and if I feel the fight is not in my swaying to my liking, I would go for the submission. So even though the boxer has a little bit better clinch attributes, it still doesn't really make a huge difference at the end of all this. You know what I'm saying? So back to the ground game for the boxer. He's in the 50s, and as we saw earlier, your Taekwondo guy is in the 60s and 70s. And the main thing is your choke defense. And ground defense is important, but it's all about the choke defense and then your choke submissions. The boxer is a 57. You're not going to be choking if you're a boxer unless you're really, really good with your hand-eye coordination. And then athleticism. The boxer athleticism is really good. He can take a beating, like we said earlier, but the leg health is a problem. And the Taekwondo guy is just pretty much respectable in all areas. So if I had to say, man, and don't judge me on this, but it's my honest opinion, and you guys asked me, and I'm here to deliver. The Taekwondo guy, I think, is a really, really good start, because you could add to your stand-up game easily, and you know that your ground game is respectable, so you don't really need to mess around with the ground game. Because you know what, the one thing about this game is when you get those cards, if you want to improve your ground game, you lose attributes in your stand-up. So you have to be very careful. In my opinion, I would just load up on your stand-up, knowing that your ground game is decent. So go with the Taekwondo guy. All in all, I feel like he is the best, and wherever the fight goes, you have a chance. So let me know what you guys think. Once again, at first I thought it was the grappler would be the best type of style, but I was getting lit up because I couldn't take the blows that I was receiving, and sometimes I couldn't take the fight to the ground if somebody had really good takedown defense. Anyways, people, let me know in the comment section below. You guys are the best. This is Ricky J, baby, from Ricky J Sports, and you are awesome.